Hi out there in the YouTube land. It's your number one Platter surviving member, Ted E. Fame, here to talk to you guys again. We're going to, off the top of the head, like we always do recently. Let me adjust this camera because it's not right. Okay, that's better. So we're just going to be talking about stuff that pops into my head. The last time we talked, I was telling you some of my adventures and on my journey or on my being a member of the group. So today we'll just continue that. I'd like to get some of you guys to come on in and say hello. And what I'm going to do is just going to talk a little. Uh-oh, look at this. I'm already there. I'll get my talk a little. Uh-oh, look at it. Get my computer set up for that. And while I do that, actually, I want to start off talking about, continue talking about some of the stuff that we were talking about previously. Hold on a second. I want to get something right here. I want to make sure that I get something positively right as we go along here. Oh, so that's how that works? Okay, I'll know that for the future. I don't have to do that. Go to my page and it comes right up. Oh, that's great. I'm just on my computer for a second. I want to just check on a few things and make sure I don't talk about stuff that we already went over. So I'm just gonna look through some of my notes. I'm just looking through some of my notes here and stuff that okay, I talked about that. Did I talk about that? I think I talked about that. Well, we can talk about, I did talk about that. Talked about that. Did I talk about? Yeah, I talked about that. I'm just looking for some stuff that I didn't talk about so we don't like repeat the same stuff over and over again. Talked about that. Hey, how did these get in here? I have to get those out of here. I don't know how they got in there. I'll take care of that. Just a second, guys. Just a second. I thought I got rid of a lot of this stuff. I have to go back in my thing and check on this again because a lot of this stuff shouldn't even be in there. A lot of that stuff shouldn't be in there, but it's okay. We will fix it in the mix, as they say. But I just want to get through. That's crazy. I thought I could delete a lot of that stuff. Let me see. I'll go back into it later. And yeah, so I'm sorry, give me a second. I'm just checking through some of my notes so we don't repeat some of the same stuff that I talked about. One second here. I'll get right with you guys. I want to talk about, you know what? Let's talk about Israel. Let's talk about Israel. I don't think I talked about it one time. The Israel tour happened in 1987, and we were booked to do a tour of Israel, the Platters, Tony Williams Platters. We were told to do we did Jerusalem. We stayed in Tel Aviv, but we toured Tel Aviv, Jerusalem, Haifa, and Jaffa. How I remember these names of these cities, it blows my mind. But yeah, four cities that we toured, and we were there for a month. I can't believe we was booked in Israel for one whole month, okay? And let me take these glasses off because I see the glare coming in. For one whole month, we was booked in Israel. And a lot of different things happened during that tour. Some things personal to me. For example, one thing that stands out that I remember about that tour was an incident I had on stage. So I sing 2 songs in the show. I sing Wash the Shore, that was a hit for the Platters in the late 60s. I think Sonny Turner made it a hit. And I do Shout by the Isley Brothers. And that's usually what we close the show with. That's like the finale. So when I do Wash the Shore, in the middle of the song where it goes to the instrumental, where it goes dun 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 dun. I usually do a spin like Michael Jackson spin on the dun 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 dun. I usually do like 2 or 3 or pirouettes, and then like this. So now we had this stage. This is crazy for me saying this. So we had this stage that had a walkway that walks down the middle of the club, and people had tables on each side of the stage. And it was a narrow stage. It was probably about 3-4 feet. No, I would say about 3 or 4 feet wide. So I do this parallel, and I actually stumbled and fell off the stage. Now, I probably stumbled in doing the whole 10 years, well, doing the whole time I'm doing that song, maybe 2 or 3 times. I never fell. But because the stage was so narrow, I fell off the stage onto these people's table, and they had a whole dinner on the table. Oh my God, that was so embarrassing. That was so embarrassing. And these people helped me back up on the stage to finish the song. That's crazy, right? That was so embarrassing. Another time, we were on stage, and this was kind of embarrassing too. Now, this was another one of Tony's not so better shows. Now, we there for months, so I would say on the average, most of the shows was pretty good, but this one was particularly bad, and it's also dealing with his drinking problem again. The show that we did prior to that show, he was having problems with his voice, and I didn't think he was going to be able to do the next show, but then the next show came up, and he wanted to do it. But he got he always overdrink, but this one was really bad. So at one point in the show, there was a table directly in front of him, and was nobody sitting there. And at one point during the show, he stopped singing and started having a conversation with the table with nobody sitting there. Woo! We've gone through some stuff. You know, I've gone through some great times on stage with Tony, and I'm going through some embarrassing times on stage with Tony. That was an embarrassing time on stage with Tony. I remember being when we was in Tel Aviv, we was on a TV show. I remember being on the Dan. I can't forget I can't remember the last name. Dan Panorama, Dan something TV show. And it was a local talk show in Tel Aviv. This is 1987. I'm sure that man had died a long time ago. So, and if you guys are not as old as me, you're not going to probably remember this guy if you weren't born or alive during that time. Because I've talked to a few fans since then who are from Tel Aviv, from Israel, Tel Aviv, and they don't remember the show. So that's that. But we interviewed the show, and that was one of the few times where I was in an interview. I was part of the interview. Normally what happens is they would usually only interview Tony, but this time they interviewed the whole group. You know, because Tony was the only original in the group. It was his group that he put together in the late 70s. And his wife, him and his wife took the place of Zola Taylor. Her name was Helen Williams. and she was also the manager of the group. So this was Tony and Helen Williams Platters. I think that's how they booked it too. Tony and Helen Williams Platters. And the three of us, me, Ricky, and Bob Rivers. That was the lineup. And she did all the bookings, and there was her time. I'll be honest with you, and I realize this now after the fact, but she was one of those wannabe singers who never got a break in the show business, and being married to Tony was her chance to be in show business, because she could actually, her voice was decent, okay? I mean, she wasn't blowing nobody away, but she didn't have to really sing so much. I think she sung staggerly. If I remember, I know she sung staggerly. I can't remember if she sung another song in the show. But on the Israel tour, we were the only group, so we weren't on the show with nobody else. So it was like just the Platters. So we had to do like an hour, 10 hour, 15-minute show. So everybody in the group gets a chance to sing at least one or two songs. The bass singer would sing Old Man River. And another song, I forgot another song he sung. It'll come back to me. Ricky would sing, the baritone, he would sing Love You 1,000 Times. And I think he had another song. I would sing Watch the Shore and Shout. Helen would sing Staggerly, and another song I can't remember. And then Tony would sing all the hits that he made, all the songs that he made with the Platters. So we had enough to do, so we could do a 2-hour show, but we did about an hour, 10 hour, 15-minute shows when we were touring by ourselves. But when we was on a show with other acts, we would only do the hits. So it would only be like 25, 30 minutes. We'd do all the hits. But this was one of those shows where we had to do like an hour, 15-minute set, so everybody gets to sing. So that's how I get to do all these songs. And we were also on Israel TV and television. I remember that too. Now all this stuff was in '87, so if anybody can find any of that stuff, I would be surprised. But then again, you never know with the internet, somebody can find something that's going on there. 1 second, let me just check on something. Oh, that looks pretty good. What was I saying? Oh yeah, so we toured there. We did it a month. I have more memories about the stuff that was going on with me than anything particular about the group on this particular tour, because it was basically the same every night. The few things I want to talk about is stuff that touched me personally. One of the things that I remember vividly, this was during the time where they was having Israel was having a conflict with the Palestinians, and during that time, the Palestinians can come into Israel to work, but they had to leave the country. My bad. Excuse me a minute. I'm having trouble with my phone. I don't want it to overheat. There you go. But they had to leave the country at 6 o'clock. And me being a black guy, I felt a little something about that. And I didn't understand all the intricacies about this conflict. But the reason I'm saying that, because there was this Palestinian girl who worked at the front desk. She was the reception at the front desk of the hotel we were staying at. And you know, staying in that hotel for a month, you got to see her every day you were coming out of the hotel. So I got to really talk to her a lot, and I kind of liked her, so I asked her to go out on a date with me. I wanted to take her out to dinner or something, you know. Excuse me. This is only water. Not BS water. It's sparkling water. La Croix sparkling water. And she told me she would love to, but the only problem is, because she's not a citizen of Israel, she had to leave the country at 6 o'clock or she could get arrested. And man, I didn't take well to that. That really bothered me, man, because what? She was a cool, nice girl. She wasn't going to do nothing, but like I said, I didn't understand the situation with the conflict and what was going on. And I didn't know, I tell you this, I noticed, and especially in Tel Aviv, when we would go out and walk around, walk down the streets, the police, now this is way before 9/11. Now it's common all the time. This was in the 80s, and they was walking around with MK-16s and machine guns walking down the street. I'm like, are we in a war zone? What the hell? This is how you guys police your city? Is that bad? You know? But they were cool because actually one of the guys let me take a picture with his gun. Can you believe that? Can you actually believe that? He let me take a picture with his gun. And I was holding the gun. I wish I had that picture. He let me take a picture with his gun. Crazy, right? I like walking through the markets. I think their money's called shekels or shekels. And it's almost like they singing. You walking through the market and say, got the shekels, who got the shekels? Come buy this with the shekels. And, you know, we was making jokes. And now, look at me. I had a little bit of hair back then. And I wasn't gray. I was, what, 27? 26, 27? Around that time. And 27, I think. And walking through the streets, and it's so funny how they would say it, because they would call me Michael Jordan, but they would mix it up. They would call me Magic Jordan or Michael Johnson. I'm like, it's Michael Jordan, not Magic Jordan or Michael Johnson. It was so crazy. And another time, me and a couple of band members and one of the guys in the group, Ricky, because he was the closest to my age, and he was 15 years older than me, but he was the closest to my age than anybody else in the group. So I think he was like in his mid to late 40s, and I was 20 something. So he could still move around a lot. So we used to go play basketball. And this one time we was out playing basketball. We found a court to play basketball, right? And we were out there playing basketball. Now they had a art school right next to the basketball court, which I didn't know about. So while we out there playing basketball, the teacher of the art school came out to the basketball court and walked straight to me and asked me, would I mind being a model for her students? And I was like, well, you know, I was looking good back then, so I was nice and chiseled and stuff. And I said, okay, but we're gonna finish playing this basketball game. Now, what I didn't realize when she asked me that, she wanted me to model nude. I didn't realize that until I got into the school. I said, look, lady, ain't no way I'm a model nude. You know, and I was like cocky back there. I said, if I model nude, I went out there nude, these women, and it was some women in there, right? Mostly women, maybe one or two guys, but mostly women. These women would lose their mind. No way, you know? So I had a pair of bikini briefs, so I wore the bikini briefs, but I modeled for them in the bikini briefs. And all the people would sketch me, you know? One of the few people gave me sketches. I wish I had the sketches. So she offered to pay me, and I said, you know, she was also a sculptor. And I said, you know what, instead of paying me, make a sculpture of my head. Make a bust of me. So she invited me to come back to the school. She said it's gonna take about a week because you gotta sit up there and I gotta mold the thing. And I used to have a hairstyle where I had my hair parted and I had it flaring out like this, right? And I always had some earrings. And she made and man, that bust was fantastic. Man, I kept, that shit was heavy as hell too. But I kept it. I had that thing for about at least 10 years. But I moved around so much. You know, I wish I had that bust now. It's so many things that I had, so many little treasures that I picked up along the way. that I wish somehow that I collected, that I wish somehow I was able to hold on to. But during the course of time, I lost a lot of stuff, a lot of memories, a lot of things I picked up on tours with the Platters, and situations where I don't even have them no more, but I still have the memories, so that's real good. And I had a lot of different pictures. I don't have that no more. I only have that one video of us doing a TV show that I found on the internet. And it's a shame that I couldn't keep a lot of it. And it's funny because, especially in the United States, when we do places on the East Coast, like Jersey, we had a lot of fans that go all the way back with Tony from back the 50s, and they would come out and support us, and they would videotape the shows. There's one guy, we were in Jersey near the beach, the Seaside something park, I forgot the name of it, and we were booked there for like a week, 10 days, and he would come down to the club and videotape us every night. I wish I had those tapes, but I was trying to find this guy. I forgot his name or all that stuff, but he did a lot of tapes. I wanted to find a tape of me singing "Wash the Shore" or me singing "Shout," and I couldn't find one. I had one that we did at this corporate event, and I lost those tapes. And even Tony and Helen had those tapes in their home, but through the years we lost those tapes. I lost those tapes. So she ain't made a bust of me, which was real cool. And I kept that for a long time. I remember another time, and this is in Israel, and we were playing at this club, and another club we was playing. No, we was playing in, I think, Jerusalem. And then after the show, we went out to a little nightclub, and some of the Platters fans were there who had saw the show. And they just wanted, and some of the guys, they just want to talk to you. And one of the guys' girlfriend really liked me. And he was trying to push his girl from me. I'm like, yo, dude, you trying to give me your girlfriend? What's up? Yeah, she like you. Isn't that your girlfriend? That's not the first time that happened. I'll let you know. I've had another occasion where somebody tried to push their girlfriend off on me because they were so big Platters fans, and his girlfriend was interested in me, or was whatever. I don't know. So yeah, that show, that tour stands out to me. Another occasion, another time that stands out to me in that tour. Now, like I said, that was in the mid '80s, so a lot of things was different. And one thing I do remember about that tour when we was in Israel, they didn't have any fast food places. There wasn't no McDonald's, Burger King, no Kentucky Fried Chicken, nothing. They was against, you couldn't have a cheeseburger, right? Because they was against mixing the cheese with the meat or some stuff like that. That was their religion. So they didn't order it. So they didn't have these fast food places. And if you order what you had to do at the hotel, so what I did at the hotel, since they couldn't serve me a cheeseburger, I would order a hamburger and a cheese sandwich. And then I would make my own cheeseburger. I mean, it's crazy. It's crazy. I'm remembering these things that I did or what's going on that tour back in the day. And they would do that. I would do that. I also remember, because we had a hotel, what's the name of our hotel? Geez, it was so long ago. But I remember it was right on the beach. And I could look out my hotel window and see the beach and people walking on the beach. And every morning, I would see these older people out on the beach doing Tai Chi, and I was like, I think it was Tai Chi. They was doing some kind of exercise out there every morning. And some mornings it was pretty cool out there in the morning sometimes on those beaches. And they was out there doing it every morning. And also they was getting in that water. It was like cold. They was getting in that water early in the morning. I found all that very interesting. But that whole month was a great experience culturally, because on our time off, I got to, visit some of the places, the Wailing Wall and some of these other places. We had some time off. Go out and meet the people, So that was fun. I had a lot. I have some good memories about Israel. Let's talk about another tour. Let's talk about, there's so many. Sometimes I have to look at my little cheat sheet I have here to remind me of some stuff that I might have forgot. So give me a second. I'm gonna look and see what else. I don't want to talk about the same thing over again. I don't want you to say, "Well, you said that on the last video." Okay, I know one, because you guys, I've been getting a lot of questions about this. Now I got to make sure you understand. I was with Tony for 10 years, but I was with Tony in his later years, from 1982 to 1992. So I can't speak on anything before 1982 because I wasn't there. But anything between 1982 and 92, I was there. Tony, at this point, when I was in the group, Tony's voice was basically done. And I realized what happened to why his voice was done when I watched him. Tony was a heavy drinker. He drunk all the time. This man, he reminded me of my father. My father was a heavy drinker too, but my father was a wine drinker. My father was a wino. Tony loved hard liquor. Tony was a vodka drinker. He loved vodka. Vodka and another white. He liked that white liquor. So he loved that. And he always smoked. He was a heavy smoker, believe it or not. He smoked those imported cigar kind of thing, Tipperello looking kind of cigarettes. There was an imported cigarette smoke shop right on the corner from where he lived at. So he used to buy the cigarettes there. And those two things take a heavy toll on your voice. And throughout the years, you can tell you're doing that, it's going to destroy your voice. And up until the moment he left us, he would smoke those things, those cigarettes, and drink his alcohol. So by the time I joined the group, his voice was already gone. So I guess he was already resided. He was already, in his mind, probably, this is what you're going to get. This is all I'm going to give to you. So it wasn't a big deal to him because most of the people were coming out to see us. They was coming out not to see the Tony from the 1950s. They was coming out to see Tony Williams, that he was still alive in the 80s and late 80s and early 90s. He died in 92, especially in the 80s. So I think it was more of a nostalgic thing than it is expecting him to sound like he did when he had those hit records, because he didn't. Matter of fact, we changed the key on a lot of those songs because he couldn't sing them in those high voice no more because he had, smoking them cigarettes, he had emphysema. And emphysema took away his lung capacity. So he didn't have the lung power to sustain those notes or to hit the high notes. A lot of times he would sing like in a whisper. Oh yes, I'm the great pretender. I'm serious. That's how he would sing a lot of times, almost like a whisper. And I could see fans, a lot of fans faced the disappointment when they got there and they saw the condition that he was in and how his voice sound, you know. But at a lot of times, I also realized the fans are older just like him. So none of them are in the shape they were in when Tony had those hit records, when he was singing like he was singing. So I'm sure they understood to a certain degree they wasn't getting the same singer who they fell in love with. But they still admire him because there would be a line of people waiting at the dressing room to get Tony's autograph. And I'm talking about a 60-something-year-old Tony. They were still out there wanting his autograph and wanting to take a picture with him. And I was shocked that they wanted my autograph. I can't tell you how many times I signed my autograph because I'm with that man, Tony Williams. So a lot of stuff he did rubbed off on me, and I was a beneficiary to just being a member of that group. So I'm not here. I'm just talking the truth. I don't want anybody to get the opinion that I'm bashing Tony or I'm making videos to profit off of Tony. I'm the last surviving member of Tony Williams Platters. So I started this YouTube channel because the Platters fans. And I remember how you guys treated me out on the road when we go on tour. I remember how you would tell me stories about what was going on in your life when this Platters song came out, or how you met your wife and y'all danced to this song. This is the first song y'all danced to. So I remember all those times with meeting the fans. So I knew what the fandom was for the Platters. I understood that. So after leaving the group and Tony passing, and all these years later, and this whole YouTube phenomenon thing started, I said, you know what? This will be a good chance for me to reach out, because the good thing about this YouTube thing, it's a worldwide thing. So it's not just a particular region, it's all over the world. And we had Platters fans all over the world. All over the world, okay? And this is my way of connecting with you guys and sharing these stories with you. So if you guys have any questions about any particular thing you want to know about, give me a second. I will be more than happy to answer your questions. Like I said, I can only talk about the stuff that happened between the time that I was in the group. And if I talk about anything that happened before I was in the group, then I'm just speculating, or I'm just telling you secondhand information that was given to me. And I don't know how accurate that would be. I'm just going to be recanting a lot of stuff that we probably talked about already. I remember when Tony passed. His wife, Helen, like I said, she was the manager of the group. So she was always in communication with all of the group members. So I can't remember the day of the week. I know it was in August. And I think it was August 16th, if I'm not mistaken. And Helen said that, because Tony was in the hospital for like a week prior to him passing. And when he came home, you know, he wasn't in great shape, but he didn't look like he wasn't going to be here no more. I mean, the last time I saw him like maybe 3 or 4 days before he passed. I went by the apartment just to, cause I go and check on them and see how they're doing when we're not working. And we weren't working. We hadn't worked in like a month at that point. And Helen said they went to bed as normal. You know, she said Tony got in the bed, lay down next to her. She kissed him good night. They went to sleep. And she woke up the next morning and she noticed Tony didn't move or anything. He was kind of stiff. So she reached over to shake him, Tony, all right? And he wouldn't respond. And when she touched his skin, she said he was cold. And she knew right then he had passed. So he passed in his sleep. I want to say, I knew he was in some pain at times. And if you got to go to pass in your sleep, that's how I want to go, pass in my sleep. So she said, when she realized that he was gone, She called the hospital, and they send over the people. Then she started calling us, and a few of us came over. I came over. Ricky lived with them. That was her son, so he was already there. So he was there, and I came over to the house. When I got there, they were rolling Tony out in the bag and on the stretcher. They was rolling him out. They take him to the morgue, and yeah, that was. But I knew it was coming. I'm telling you, I knew it was coming because his health, I say from 1989, 90 to 92, his health just kept going down and down and down. He would go in the hospital like on a regular basis. They didn't tell us, Helen wouldn't tell me all the time why he keep going to the hospital so much. When I knew he had a stroke, he had emphysema, he had high blood pressure, and I don't know, he could have had something else going on with him because we wasn't getting all the details about his health. But these are the things that I knew that was wrong with him. And so him going to the hospital, I knew that this was probably, he wasn't going to be along with us anymore. I'm surprised, to be honest with you, I'm surprised he lasted as long as he did. I'm really surprised he lasted as long as he did. For example, Tony died at 64 years old. My father passed at 10 years earlier at 54. Okay? And my father didn't live the extravagant life that Tony lived. And for him to last as long as he did was a testament to him. For example, I will be 64 this year, September. So that's the same age that Tony was when he passed, right? I'm in excellent condition. I take care of my health. I go to the gym, I work out, I eat healthy. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do any of those substances. Don't do any of those things. So, and I still have my voice. And I contribute all that to learning from the people who I see do the wrong thing. And I realize, don't do that if you want to have a longer, productive life. Look, we all gonna leave this life at one stage or another. But it was no reason to speed up the process, you know what I'm saying? So do everything in your power to take care of yourself and be healthy. And looking back on Tony, those last 5 years of his life was very unhealthy. And I know he was in pain, and he had trouble walking a lot. He had trouble standing for long periods of time. And he was taking painkillers. So those last few years, I know wasn't good for him. And that's what I realized. You have to take care of yourself. Because Tony could have lived a lot longer and had a longer productive life had he been able to control his habits and this addiction. So that's it with that. What else I want to talk about? That's a few things we're going to talk about today. Give me a second. I want to look on my notes here. Thanks for hanging out with me. I see more and more you guys come. The more I start vlogging, I see the more and more you guys come. So I'm just going to keep going over stuff. And just talking about stuff that I think you might be able to enjoy. Wait a minute, do I want to talk about that one? I just talked about that. Let's see what else. Talked about that. Okay, let's talk, you know what? Let's talk about Disneyland. I think this was 85. And what's this? I remember, you know what it is? I remember around that time, we had this big resurgence for doo-wop and 50s rock and roll music. It was a big resurgence during the middle 80s, early mid 80s about that. And I remember we started getting a lot of work, more than we were getting prior to that. And we got booked to go to Orlando, Florida, to do this big show. Now, this was a big headliner. This is a big show with the Coasters, Drifters, the Del Vikings, Luke Christie, Bo Diddley, Jerry Lee Lewis, who else? Chuck Berry wasn't on that show. Little Richard wasn't on that show. I don't think I ever worked with Little Richard. Man, I'm kind of sad that we never worked with Little Richard. Except Little Richard. But it was a big show. And I remember, the thing I remember about that show was, they gave us all passes to go to Disneyland. We were booked, they got us down there for 2 days, right? We got there a day early, and then we performed the next day. We performed at the Civic Center in Orlando, Florida. So the day before the show, we all had passes to go out to Disneyland. And that was my first time going to Disneyland. And that was great. I had a great time going to Disneyland. And we had like a fleet of limos available 24/7 for us, for all the acts, right? And that was the first time that I actually had a limo to myself. I could go. I didn't know, so I was riding. I said, I want to go for a limo ride. And I told the limo driver, just drive around the city, show me some stuff. And then he said, you know, it'd be cool. The limo driver told me that. Pull up in McDonald's drive-through in a limo. I went to McDonald's drive-through in a limo. You can't believe the odds. This is 1984, 85, right? So you can't believe a black stretch limo. You can't believe the people's eyes that were looking at me and shock, wondering, who's that in the limo? Who's that in the limo? It had to be somebody famous driving a limo to McDonald's. Oh, that was a great time. Our hotel, we had a private jacuzzi, which was cool. Oh man, that was some of the places we've gone to, and that was a great show. With all those acts on the show, man, I spent most of the time standing on the side of the stage watching everybody instead of hanging out in the dressing room, because I got to see all these other acts singing all these songs that I was familiar with. So that was fun. And one of the things I do remember that I liked about doing tours with other acts, we get to see a lot of these artists, and everybody had hit records. So we get to see a lot of these artists that had, from the 50s and early 60s, that had hit records and a lot of songs that I'm familiar with. So that was a joy just to see and say, man, I met Benny King. I was on stage with Jerry Lee Lewis. I was hanging out with Bo Diddley backstage. And you know what's crazy? I don't know how much money this man had. I'm talking about Bo Diddley. He would be cooking in his dressing room. He had a little fryer. He be frying chicken. I'm laughing because I'm just remembering this. You can smell it through the whole arena backstage. He back there cooking chicken and stuff in his little dressing room. This man was a trip. But I understand those guys back then, you know, they was penny pinchers on their money. And instead of wasting their money buying food, although we was getting catered, so that was another crazy thing that I just realized. There was a catering for us. So we had, but I mean, it wasn't the kind of food he was cooking, but it was still food. They had sandwiches and fruits and salads and sodas and juices and stuff. So they did. We always had some type of catering at these shows, especially these big shows. So for him to be cooking in his dressing room blew my mind. Oh, once again, guys, don't forget to hit the like button and tell other Platters fans that the last surviving member of Tony Williams Platters is on YouTube. He has a YouTube channel. It's called Ted E. Fame, formerly of the Platters. So all the Platters fans that are still out there, that still want to connect with the Platters, or still have an affinity for the Platters, here I am, your last member who you can talk to on YouTube. This is a beautiful thing, that's YouTube, right? It gives you guys an opportunity to connect with us. And I wish I had this when I was coming up, and some of my favorite acts were going on something like YouTube. And I get a chance to go on there, man, I'll be subscribed to the channel. Every time they go live, I'll go on in and hey, what happened on this or what did that? Occasionally I'll get people that will ask me questions, but mostly I think I get people that's curious to hear what I got to say on and just want to see who I am. Some people are deniers. You're too young to be a Platters. I never said I was an original member. I said I was a member of Tony Williams Platters. Okay? Now you have to remember, when the group broke up, all the members at one point or another formed their own Platters. Buck Rams, who owned the rights to the name, he had them sign over the rights to the name, so he owned the Platters name. So when the group broke up, they could not use the Platters name. They had to say Zola Taylor of the Platters, or Herb Reed, bass singer of the Platters. We had Tony Williams, so we was like, Tony Williams, former lead singer of the Platters. He could say that, but he couldn't call the group the Platters. So the fact that we had Tony Williams and all those other groups were just one of the background singers, because that's all they were. Let's be honest. None of them ever had hit records with their voice. Tony Williams had the hit records because he sung all those songs. So when they put their Platters group together, they had to get somebody to sing Tony's, unless one of them were going to try to sing Tony's part. And come on. They were Tony. You know what I'm saying? Even, I don't care how bad Tony sound in his later years, that was still Tony Williams. So all those other groups, I would call those tribute groups. Even though they had one of the original background singers in it, they didn't have the lead singer. With that being said, we got most of the work because her Reed group, and I think Zola Taylor group was working too, but they wanted to see Tony. So we would get most of the work. And I remember Buck Rams was trying to send a cease and desist letter to us for working, because we did a show close to, I think it was, where we was at? It was in California? I think it was in LA someplace. And his Platters was playing in the same city. Now he owned the right to the Platters, so the people could go see his Platters or they could come see Tony. Guess where they came? Right. And so when he found out that we were in the same city that his group was in, he wanted us to stop performing there because we were taking away his audience. It was crazy. It was crazy. there had to have been like 6, 7 Platters out at that time. And that wasn't the first time. We played in another city where they had this fake Platters. It wasn't no original members in the group. It was a guy who was a replacement in one of the Platters groups who decided to make his own Platters group, which was crazy. He was the lead. He was the singer in Tony or Paul Reed. No, not Tony. And I think he was the lead singer in Herb Reed's group. What was his name? Cause he was out as a Platters, and in the same city with us. His name gonna come back to me. I can't remember off here. I could see his face. Light skinned dude, tall, light skinned dude. He had a big afro. That was funny, you know. But that show, that was a real funny show that we did that one on. How we doing on time? I don't wanna. Wow, it's almost an hour already. Time goes by real fast when I'm talking to you guys. There's so much to talk about. So that was really funny. Occasionally we were bumping, but since we were normally with us, and I'm thankful for being in Tony's group, we were normally out of the country. We were usually in Asia, occasionally in Europe, and in the Caribbean. Man, we would get booked out of the country. I must have went through at least 2.5, 3 passports in my 10 years in that group from going out of the countries. A lot of times, and most of the time when we go to the country, it's usually us. Only when we're doing, let me see, did we ever do any show? Oh, one time we was in Singapore and we was on a show with the Drifters and the Coasters. The Platters, the Drifters, and Coasters. The Drifters didn't make it. It was just the Platters and Coasters on that show. That was an experience. That was an experience in itself. But most of the time when we go overseas, we're going out as only the one act, and we do a long show. But when we're doing with multiple acts, it's usually in the States, and we usually a big show with multiple acts, which are fun. I like those shows because we're only on stage for like 25, 30 minutes, and we're only doing the hits. And we're doing the hits. We're not doing any other songs. And so those are little quick shows. Those are quick. And I get the chance to see other acts, so I used to like those shows. But don't get me wrong, I loved when we was going overseas because I get to go to all these countries. I mean, I'll go to countries that I didn't even know exist. You know, and one thing I can tell you that I thought was very, very, very interesting when we go overseas. A lot of these places don't speak English, but they knew all of our songs, and they knew the words. All our songs. You could see them sitting in the audience, singing our songs with us, and they can't speak a word of English, but they singing these songs. I'm like, blowing my mind. The power of music. The power of music. Music is like amazing. Music can do anything, right? You know, I'm sort of retired. I'm semi-retired from singing. I do a lot of acting now, but occasionally I'll go out because I still get requests to come out and perform. So at the beginning of this live, I got a little snippet of a show I just recently done here in LA, and I'm singing Only You. I'm singing Only You. So I got a little snippet of that because I don't want to get no copyright strikes because I don't own the rights to the song, and I'm not Tony Williams. You know, I'm not even an original Platter. I just happen to be the last surviving member of Tony Williams Platters. So all those years being in a group, I know these songs like the back of my hand, you know, hearing them every night. And there was a few times I had to fill in for Tony when he couldn't do the show because of his addiction. One particular time I remember is a time, I think I talked about this already, a time in Aruba, when we was in Aruba, where we was booked there for 1 month. I love those places when we're going to get booked for a month, and we're the only act. And there's one show, this only happened one time in Aruba, where Tony overdrank, and he couldn't perform. So us, the other members of the group, as they say, the show must go on. So we had to cover for Tony. We explained to the audience that Tony was sick, wasn't feeling well, and instead of canceling the show, we'll go ahead and perform the show. So they was happy with it. So we did that show, and I sung Only You. What else I sung? I probably sung Only You and I can't remember, I ain't gonna lie. Another one of his songs. Great Pretender? But that didn't happen a lot. So I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm the lead singer of the Platters, no. It was an occasion where show must go on. But most of the times, Tony got through the shows. I wish I was with him in his earlier years, before his voice got to that point where it was at when I joined the group. Because I would have loved to hear what he sounded like live back then, you know. Just thinking about it, wow, I just remembering some stuff. So it's a lot of things. Like I said, I got 10 years. 10 years of being a member of Tony Williams Platters, so I got stories. I've got stories. We're gonna be here for a while. If I got 10 years worth of stories, no, I'm not gonna be on YouTube for 10 years telling these stories. But I'm gonna tell these stories. You know, eventually I'm gonna write a book. But also I can tell you guys this, that if you go to my channel and you go to the playlist where it's the list what happened to the Platters, I made a series of videos for each year we were on tour. And I talked about that particular year and that particular tour and what happened on that particular year and tour. Also have a video of the Showtime Rock and Roll Reunion, the full show, where you can see not only us, but all these other acts that I was telling you about on that show. That's also on my channel, on my playlist, Platters playlist. So if you want to see those shows, that show, and see those other acts, which is really amazing. I think Gary S. Bonds opened up the show. That's a story in itself. And I talked about that particular show and backstage with hanging out with Bo Diddley and Wilson Pickett and Benny King. You know, I talked about that. But I'll talk about that some more on our next live. So I don't want to talk about everything at one time and don't have anything else to talk about when I go live. Because I'm going live instead of continuing making videos. I want to go live so I can talk to you Platters fans out there. So I'll be going live from this point on. Occasionally I'll post some videos, but mostly I'm gonna go live so I can just develop a rapport with you guys. I really want to get to know y'all. I really want to get to meet you Platters fans. I really want to reconnect with some of the Platters fans who probably remember me from the 80s, if you're still around. I know that was a long time ago. Long time ago. And time has changed. People move on with their lives. I know that. So if there's any Platters fans that's out there that's interested in these stories, tell them to come on over, and you guys come on over. And also, oh, by the way, check out some of my music. I released 3 CDs on my own. After I left the Platters, I went solo. And all that stuff is on my channel. I got music. I don't really do the oldies thing. I'm more of a contemporary artist, so I do a lot of pop, soul, R&B, a little reggae, and a little rock. So that's me in a nutshell, and that's the kind of music you will hear that I recorded. I wasn't lucky enough to have a hit record or to be as famous as the group that I was a member of, but I was a member of that group, and I have that to be thankful for, which I am. I'm thankful for. Matter of fact, I'll show you how thankful I am. This is I call this my wall of fame. You see all these pictures up there? Uh-oh. Let me show you. This is my wall of fame. Some of my acting stuff. Where's my Platters stuff? Oh, they got my Platters stuff over there. All right. So this is my wall of fame. So that's my history. So I just wanted you to see that. I know I don't have to do that. I don't want to mess up my camera and everything. Look at that. Oh, but I just wanted to show that to you guys. Let you see that. Those are my memories. I get to look at that wall every morning that I wake up. Every day, I can look at that wall and reminisce and say, that's me. That's me. That is me. Oh man, it's been an hour already? Okay, so guys, look, I'm not gonna stand here too long. Like I said, I wanna save some stuff for the next time. So I usually do about an hour when I go live. And this has been an hour now, so I wanna thank you guys again for joining me and sitting through this and listening to me talk. Feel like I'm talking myself, but that's okay. Most of you guys just want to hear me talk, so it's good. So anyway, like I said, thank you guys for joining me, and I'm gonna go live in a couple of days. I usually go live twice a week, kind of. So I think probably the next time I'll go live will probably be like Tuesday evening or Wednesday evening, okay? And we'll talk more. So until we meet again, this is Teddy Fame, former member of Tony Williams Platters for 10 years, from 1982 to 1992. Saying thank you, Platters fans, for joining me, and please follow me again, all right? Bye-bye. Y'all take it easy. Take care.